got into Boardman Pond, we would be paddling like crazy against this wind. It would be quite a bear to get back to the canoe launch, you know. So there are advantages to taking that dam out. Good, right?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay. Put that head on the left. No, the river is faster because the dam came out.
Because the river
you gotta
was
watch
originally fast.
Watch the whole video, and you'll understand what their objectives were in pulling that dam out. And creating this experience is what they had in mind. To Jack's Tea Party. I'm John Porter, founder of that series, and we've had a couple videos. One called "A Tragedy at Brown Bridge," and another called "Tragedy at Brown Bridge Reloaded." And I'm calling this one Brown Bridge Returns. And this is a little more information than what we had. And a friend suggested that I should apologize for this dam being removed and the pond being drained, and I don't think that's necessary, but I can kind of see how with 30 years of experience that, you know, a letter that I wrote when I was township supervisor in 1990 might have had something to do with a chain of events that resulted in that pond being drained. The letter actually was a result of some complaints where real riverfront property owners had been getting their docks washed out and erosion from rapid releases of water from the Brown Bridge Pond. And when a storm comes, the pond is vulnerable to overflowing or even breaking, so they would tend to draw down the pond. And I pointed out in the letter that, you know, there were private property owners involved and that you probably shouldn't do that. But there's policy or law or something that came into play that had to do with the run of the river. So they really were not supposed to run the water out of the dam faster than the actual river. So anyway, this letter was written, and right now the dam, the area that was Brown Bridge Pond is in use. There's still people enjoying the river, walking along the river, or wading down the river and fishing. So the public is getting enjoyment from it. So I went out and took a couple of pictures, and I did happen to find a letter. A friend of mine gave me a copy of the letter that I wrote, well, about 30 years ago now, 28 years ago, that referenced this whole issue. Now, with green energy, in order to keep the hydropower, the only way it pays off is if you generate electricity at the time when it's really needed, like on a really hot day when air conditioners are going great guns. You can get a good price for the power, but that would violate the run-of-the-river concept, which actually came into play. So that's the story, the backstory. If you need an apology for me writing a letter in support of the property owners, sorry. But I learned something over the years, and everything isn't all cut and dried. So here's the rest of the story. I'm recording, and maybe you could start with your name and whether you will let me put you on channel 2.
Okay.
You're good with that? Okay.
I'm okay.
So how long have you been following this issue?
Probably ever since it started. I don't know how many years ago that is, but we've been walking out here and using this area for 30 years.
And what's your name?
Judy Croft.
Croft. Do you live in East Bay Township?
I do.
Okay. Yeah, one of the ideas that I heard was that the city taxpayers are supporting this operation, and they wanted the townships to chip in to help pay for it.
Oh.
And one of the issues was why should the city taxpayers be the only ones paying for this?
Okay, I hadn't heard that argument, but I guess I would tend to agree with them. We enjoy it out here, and it would be worth saving.
Yeah, we have a park commission, but I don't know if they had any contact with this organization. So.
I do not know that either.
Well, as we were saying before, you don't favor the draining the pond, right?
No, and one of the things I thought was going to save the pond was the endangered species. We have a family of trumpeter swans on the pond which are endangered, and it's supposedly against the law to drain a wetland with an endangered species. Plus, we've had a family of loons out here for years and years that raise chicks every spring, and we have an eagle nest out here, and they raise 2 to 3 babies per season. So
is that a loon on your shirt?
yes, that's my loon shirt.
So I was wondering what a loon was. A loon is like a duck, right? Is it kind of a duck?
Yes, loons don't walk. They swim and they fly, and they have a beautiful haunting call, and they're just a beautiful bird and a real treasure for any area.
Well, if they drain the pond, wouldn't they be able to be in the river, or?
No, they would be on a pond or a lake. They're in a more still water, not in a flowing river.
But not near people, right? And we have a lot of lakes around here.
You know, I think the loons are adapting to people just because they have to, because there are more people around. I live on Spider Lake, and we have loons on the lake. They don't nest, but I see them fishing there.
Okay, because this is a couple square miles of empty land, and
It's a beautiful area.
I would know, maybe that's a third of a square mile of open water that they can.
Yeah, it's
be
a
in.
nice area. It supports the swans, the loons, the eagles, fish, and we have Canada geese and ducks and bufflehead ducks. We have a lot of wild waterfowl on the pond.
I was troubled by it because we've got a lot of rivers in the region, but areas where you have 2 square miles of empty land with a pond are pretty unique.
Yeah, I don't know this. What I've heard is that the DNR wanted to return the river to its original state, but it's been a pond for since the
1913, I think.
I was going to say the early 1900s. So, in my lifetime, it's always been this way.
Okay, well, hopefully we can generate some interest and maybe we can do something about it.
I hope so. It's a really wonderful area to preserve.
Okay, great. Thanks.
You're welcome.
I'm Jack Porter, and this is Todd Kalish with the DNR, and maybe it's a DEQ. Exactly what is your title, Todd?
Yeah, I'm a fisheries supervisor with the Department of Natural Resources and Environment.
Okay, so that name has changed periodically then, I take it.
Yep, we are now officially combined, DNR and DEQ. We're one agency.
Okay, back to the future then, right?
Right.
Okay, now the purpose of this interview is to find out about Brown Bridge Pond. Now, I understand that there's a 3 dams involved, and actually there's maybe a statewide problem about old dams that are falling apart and something needs to be done with. But my particular interest in making this video is Brownbridge Pond and the dam at Brownbridge Pond. Maybe you could give us a little background about, what is the big brouhaha?
Sure. Well, I'll just give you a little history about Brownbridge Dam just to start. Brownbridge Dam was built in 1921, so it's almost 100 years old now, and it generated hydroelectricity for Traverse City Light and Power ever since, basically from 21 until 2006. Traverse City Light and Power decided to decommission the Brownbridge Dam in 2005, actually is when they started the process. And the primary rationale or impetus for this whole project was that in 2005, actually maybe late 2004, the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission, that's FERC, and that's the agency that serves as the regulatory authority over all dams in the United States that generate hydropower. So they're charged with making sure that all dams meet certain safety requirements and things like that. And what they found, what the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission found in their kind of inspections in 2004 and 2005 was that Brownbridge did not meet their requirements under their particular dam regulatory standards. Basically, their spillway, the spillway at Brownbridge wasn't able to pass the probable maximum flood. And what that basically entails is that in order for Traverse City Light and Power to be in compliance with the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission standards, they would have to spend, the estimates were anywhere from $1 to $2 million to retrofit Brownbridge Dam.
For just that one dam?
Just for Brownbridge, yeah. Mm-hmm. And in 2005, Traverse City Light and Power determined that that dam was no longer economically feasible with that pending update to Brownbridge Dam spillway. So they, in 2005, Traverse City Light and Power decided that they would begin the delicensing process of Brownbridge Dam. And that's what started this whole process. They also looked at the economic feasibility of generating hydropower at Sabin and Boardman dams. And in that analysis, once again, they determined that it was not economically feasible to operate those dams as well. So the whole impetus for this project was the economic feasibility of maintaining hydro at Brownbridge, but then it also reverberated to Sabin and Boardman.
So was it Brownbridge then that kind of initiated the cascade then?
It was, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And they can't just walk away from it. Apparently they have some responsibilities under the law.
Yes, they do. They had to go through a formal delicensing process. And the formal delicensing process started in 2005 with the signing of what we call the Boardman River Dam Settlement Agreement. And the settlement agreement involved 8 signatories, eight groups. And those groups were Traverse City Light and Power, the City of Traverse City, Grand Traverse County, Michigan Department of Natural Resources at the time, Michigan Department of Environmental Quality, Grand Traverse Band of Ottawa and Chippewa Indians, the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, and then also the Michigan Hydro Relicensing Coalition. So those 8 groups collaborated with primarily 2 major purposes. One was to pursue the delicensing process of Brownbridge Dam, and the second was to pursue a comprehensive and succinct assessment of the pros and cons of removing, retaining, or modifying all the dams within the Boardman River Dam system.
Now my background is I've lived here for 30 years and I like that pond and I like to fish it, and I really was encouraged when the city put that money into fixing up the nature area. It's 2 square miles of really pristine wilderness within 10 miles of Traverse City. And I was disappointed when they decided to basically drain the pond. But I know there's a lot more going on than that.
we were cognizant when we started this whole process back in 2005 that there were a myriad of values for Brownbridge Pond out there. And not only Brownbridge, but also Boardman, Sabin, and Boardman Lake. And so the city and the county, when they knew that Traverse City Light and Power were going to decommission Brownbridge, Sabin, and Boardman, they wanted to partake in a process that actively engaged the community in terms of what their opinions are for the future of these impoundments, for the futures of these dams. And the implementation team, which is that group of 8 signatories that I just mentioned, started what we call the Boardman River Dams Committee. And the Boardman River Dams Committee, in my opinion, was the most open, inclusive, and impartial process that I've ever been involved with. And we started in 2005, and basically the primary purpose of the Boardman River Dams Committee was to actively engage the community in a process that comprehensively and succinctly looked at all of the pros and cons of dam removal, dam modification, and dam retention. So in terms of specifically talking about Brownbridge, we looked at environmental issues when it comes to Brownbridge. We looked at economic issues and then also social issues.
Well, can I ask you what your impression of the place is?
Oh, beautiful lake.
I'm doing a public access thing.
Yeah.
Can I put you guys on?
Sure.
Okay.
Power, and which hydros do provide. However, the decision that the county and the city made to pursue fundraising for dam removal wasn't based solely on the renewable issue. It was based on environmental aspects of the impoundments, social aspects, and then also economic aspects. So there was a whole myriad of values that the county and the city took into account when they made the decision to pursue removal of Brownbridge.
Well, this committee that was created, did they have like membership selected from the community, or were there people from outside the community that were on it?
Yeah, and that's a great question. The Boardman River Dams Committee was formed through the implementation team. And the Boardman River Dams Committee consisted of over 1,000 people, and we had over 200 public meetings. Basically, what we wanted to kind of pursue, we wanted to pursue an experiment in community engagement and community decision making.
And
so basically, we had the implementation team, which serves as a level of accountability, but we also invited community members to come to these monthly meetings and actively participate in determining where the project goes. We didn't want the implementation team to guide this process. We wanted the community to tell us where they wanted to take the process. So for example, we had a variety of standing and task teams, like fundraising teams and communications teams and things like that. And all you had to do to get on those teams was show up. That's all you had to do. So the implementation team actually at the beginning of the process served as a level of accountability where any decisions that were made on the process had to go through the implementation team. But as we evolved, we found that the community wanted to take more accountability. And so that's what we did. Towards the end of the process, in the last couple of years of the process, the implementation team stepped back. They stepped away from the community process. And the only time that we ever got involved in any decision making was if the community, those teams that were formed, couldn't come to an agreement.
If they do drain this, when do they plan on doing it? Soon?
they say 3 to 5 years they probably start construction. They gotta do an environmental impact study and
Right.
and engineering to figure out the best way to do it, you know.
Yeah.
It'll be a while.
Yeah. Well, that's good.
Yeah.
Oh, wow, to enjoy it at least.
Yeah, right.
It seems pretty low right now.
Well, they dropped it 3 feet already, maybe more. I don't know. They claim it's only 3 feet, but you know, I've lived here for 30 years. I've seen it a lot higher than this, you know.
inclusive and impartial process I've ever been involved with.
Now, we have economic, environmental, and social was the
Yep.
other. Getting into the economic, is there money available to remove the dams and restore the river to a natural flow?
Yeah, and that's a great question. And yeah, in terms of the economic aspects, and we've talked just about Brown Bridge. In terms of the economic aspects of Brown Bridge, the Boardman River Dams Committee looked at a myriad of different options for Brown Bridge. Because we didn't want to look at just dam removal or just dam retention. We wanted to look at all of them so we can make a good judgment and recommendation based on the facts. So what the Boardman River Dams Committee found was that Brown Bridge, as it sits right now, if we wanted to just maintain Brown Bridge and not generate hydropower, we would have to spend, the community would have to spend upwards of $1.3 million to fix and repair it. That dam it's almost 100 years old now, so it's in need of some pretty significant repairs. So if we just wanted to maintain it, we're going to have to come up with $1.3 million. And then our engineering consultants also estimated that annual maintenance of Brown Bridge would cost anywhere in between $30,000 and $60,000 a year. Now that's if it doesn't generate hydropower, if it just maintains the impoundment. Now if we were to move into hydropower production, the estimated cost to retrofit that dam for hydropower was upwards of $6 million, just to bring it into compliance with some FERC regulations and FERC standards. So the economic cost of maintaining that dam is relatively steep, and the estimated cost to remove the dam, just partial removal. And when I mean partial removal, I mean removing the dam so that you restore all the natural characteristics of the river that's underneath the impoundment, was estimated at right around $2 million. So just to give you kind of some context in terms of where or what the economics are of this project in terms of the Boardman River Dams Committee findings.
So you have about $2 million to remove the dams and $6 million to keep the dam in the production of electricity. Is that fair characterization?
Yeah. That's approximately what our engineering and consulting firm found out. That's what they were.
And neither one of us are engineers, and nobody's going to hold us to those numbers if they don't work out.
Right.
But the money for removing the dams, is that lined up already, or do they have money for it?
Yeah, and that's a great question. The issue of dams is it's not just an issue that Traverse City is dealing with, or that Grand Traverse County is dealing with, or the state's dealing with. It's somewhat of a national issue. We actually have approximately 2,500 dams in the state of Michigan that are 6 feet tall or taller, and there's almost 80,000 dams throughout the country that are 6 feet tall or taller, and the vast majority of those dams are aging. They're well over 50 years old. So a lot of communities are going through the same decision-making process. They have to determine, do we put money into these dams to maintain them, or do we spend money to remove them? And there are a variety of sources out there for dam removal versus dam retention. And this is another thing that we looked at through the Boardman River Dams Committee. Is there's federal sources, funding sources for removal, state sources, private sources, and the reason that that I believe that there are more sources for removal than there is for retention is because removal has tangible environmental benefits.
I think we're spooking it. Now we're going into shallow water.
Well, we're just sitting here. He can get away from us.
Is that a snake?
Where?
You hear it?
It's an echo.
Just maintaining the dam, you maintain the status quo. But if you remove Brown Bridge, there are tangible environmental, economic, and then also social benefits. And some of those benefits that we
Don't you think?
enumerated through the Boardman River Dams Committee are things like if Brown Bridge is removed, we will restore approximately 156 acres of wetlands. So when that dam was brought in, there were approximately 156 acres of wetlands underneath that impoundment. We will also restore approximately 36 acres of upland habitat. And one of the unique aspects of the removal is we will restore approximately 1.5 miles of river habitat. And so those are the things that we looked at and considered through the Boardman River Dams Committee. We also looked at the other end of it too. Brown Bridge impoundment is just over 200 acres, and it is a unique experience. It's not necessarily a unique water body in the watershed, because there's 97 lakes in Boardman watershed. So as watersheds go, there are quite a few bodies of water in that watershed. But like you were saying earlier, it does provide a unique experience for visitors because there aren't many lakes in the Boardman watershed where there's no development all around the entire lake. So that is definitely a unique experience. The other benefits, environmental benefits of Brown Bridge are that it provides habitat for loons. Loons, and then there's also swans out there. And it also provides habitat for waterfowl. So there are definitely environmental benefits of the impoundment. But if it is removed, there are benefits of removal as well. So through the Boardman River Dams Committee, we weighed the positives and the negatives and looked at both of them equally. One of the unique aspects of removal is that although the impoundment isn't really unique within the watershed because there are 97 lakes in the watershed, what is unique is what's underneath Boardman Pond. What's underneath Boardman Pond is fast-flowing, rapid-moving water. When the folks decided to place Boardman Dam or Brown Bridge Dam where they did, they were no dummies. They placed it in an area of the watershed that had high gradient, so a high slope. That fast-moving water, it has a higher oxygen concentration. The water's moving; it's going in throughout rubble and cobble and gravel and things like that. And it also has a high concentration of significant suitable habitat. So in riffles, those riffle areas that you can picture in your mind, they're almost always, they have gravel, they have a diverse habitat substrate. There's gravel and there's cobble and there's rocks. So that provides optimal habitat for aquatic invertebrates, and then also a variety of fish species to lay their eggs, to rear their young, and also to feed and forage. Michigan State University did a study in the late 90s, and they collected aquatic life, primarily fish species, upstream and downstream in Brown Bridge. And they collected 1/3 more aquatic fish species upstream of the impoundment than they did downstream. And they specifically attributed that difference to the negative impact that the dam has on the downstream life of the Boardman River, primarily the increase in water temperature. We were talking about a comparison and a contrast of the uniqueness of the impoundment, Brown Bridge impoundment, versus what it would look like if the dam was removed. And in terms of, if we look at Brown Bridge impoundment as it sits within the watershed, it's not really unique as a water body because there are 97 lakes within that watershed. So there's no shortage of lakes within the watershed. But what is unique about Brown Bridge is lack of development. So it's a really pristine area, and that is very unique within the watershed. As you know, the lakes within Boardman River watershed, whether it be Arbutus or Spider or any, a lot of them are developed. And Brown Bridge is unique in that aspect. But what's unique about removal within the watershed regarding Brown Bridge is what's underneath of it. And what's underneath of it is very high gradient, fast flowing, rapid water.
And it's good for canoeing and kayaking, but
yeah.
What else is there besides canoeing and kayaking?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's good for it's good for some people like it. Not everybody likes that fast moving water, but yeah, it's good for canoeing and kayaking in general. But it also provides the most significant productive aquatic habitat within the entire main stem of the river. And the reason I say that is because that fast-moving water, it has a higher oxygen concentration. The water's moving; it's going in throughout rubble and palm.
Oh yeah. Okay. The economics would suggest. I'm still hitting on this economics. Did the people really have a choice if they didn't have the money to keep the dam in? Wasn't there only one choice? Didn't the dam have to come out?
Well, I don't think, I think that there are always choices, and if the city would have came out, if the community would have came out and forced and said, we really want to keep this impoundment, then there's always potential sources for raising those funds. It would just be, like I said before, significantly harder to find funds to maintain the dam because you're not restoring anything, you're not enhancing any value there.
Okay, so Paradise Township and East Bay Township are the two primary beneficiaries of, well, let's say primary users of the dam, of the pond as it is. Did East Bay or Paradise ever have people, did the government ever look at this?
Yeah, we gave presentations to the townships and went around and alerted them of the status of the Boardman River Dams Committee. And like I was saying before, this was one of the most open processes projects that I've ever seen in my entire life. And if you didn't know that we were discussing this, you were hiding in a box somewhere.
Well, that's my question. Was East Bay Township Board and Paradise Township Boards hiding in a box somewhere on this issue? Did they ever take a position, send a letter of concern, or did they do anything?
Well, East Bay Township, I don't remember exactly if East Bay Township officials, in what meetings they potentially came to or things like that. But we did our best to actively involve them. So they were involved to the extent that we reached out to involve them in the process. I don't know exactly what they may have done internally to make a statement, one way or another. But like I said, they had the opportunity to come and publicly come and be involved in the project, and we reached out to them. We gave presentations to their boards, and in terms of East Bay Township and Paradise Township, I think, I don't want to speak for the townships, but they were probably cognizant that this project was one of the most open, inclusive projects of all time that I'm ever aware of. So, and the dam owners are Grand Traverse County and the city of Traverse City, although it affects townships as well. It was, so like I say, they had plenty of opportunities to come and participate, and we actually communicated with them as well.
So, East Bay Township has an elected park commission. I lived in East Bay for 30 years, and so I'm familiar there. They have a township board and that are elected, and a park commission that are elected, and so you're not aware of any letters or anything that were sent from either one of those bodies that dealt with this?
We had so much correspondence from 2005 to 2009. I don't recall right off the top of my head whether we had correspondence from East Bay or Paradise Township. I just don't remember.
Okay. I guess that answers that. The economic impact is that a tourism issue? Well, let me set this up by saying, as I understand the way it is now, a lot of the users are just local Paradise, East Bay Township users. But if it becomes a premier whitewater river, it may get nationwide attention. Is that something that was looked at?
Yeah, we looked at the recreational and social impacts of the project. One of the things that you have to have in context when you talk about potential recreation enhancements through this project is that this is a state designated natural river. So any new potential development within that river, whether it be new recreational opportunities or anything like that, has to not only go through the appropriate local government, whether it be townships or county, but also has to be approved through the Natural Rivers Program. So there's a variety of layers there, to oversee and kind of be cognizant of and review potential increases in recreation and social values within that area. But yeah, we did look at that, and we estimated that the recreational use of that particular area would be enhanced. And it would be enhanced through a variety of different mechanisms. One would be more enhanced fishing, because you're going to enhance a fisheries population. And the other would be just enhanced kind of wildlife habitat, and also associated wildlife, whether it be fisheries or wood turtles or red-shouldered hawk or grouse. And because you're enhancing those particular values, you're also enhancing the social value of the Boardman River watershed. And the reason you're enhancing that wildlife habitat and subsequently wildlife species is because you're returning that area to its natural diversity. As right now, there's just over 200 acres of impoundment of lake. When that dam is removed, you're going to have 156 acres of wetlands, a very unique high gradient stretch of the Boardman River, approximately 36 acres of uplands, and that's diversity compared to just that impoundment.
Could be a cold night.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's something sitting on a log up there. Could be an eagle.
Where, on the water?
Right there. There it is.
Oh my, it is.
It's an eagle.
Wow. I don't know if I can get it. Wow. You're right, it was an eagle.
Do you have anything, any way of summarizing this that you'd like the public to know?
Well, yeah, I mean, just in summary, you know, I've been involved in this Boardman River Dams project since its inception. And one of the things that I find just an amazing aspect of this project is that it was really an experiment in openness, inclusiveness, and in impartiality. And in my opinion, this process was by far the most open, inclusive, and impartial project that I've ever been involved with. We basically said to the community, come in and tell us what you want and help us run this project. You know, instead of just offering public comment, we wanted public participation. And some people say, are you kidding me? How can you manage a project and have that much openness in a project? But I really feel that it was a unique experience. We did our best to actively engage everybody that we possibly could. You know, we couldn't go and drag people out of their houses, but we tried our best to just get as many different opinions as we possibly could, because one of the things that we definitely didn't want were people to that had very strong opinions to go in their corners and fight against each other. You know, we didn't want to have the dam removal people in one group, the dam retention people in another group, and those two just fighting over. We wanted to bring those people together to try to come up with a solution that everybody can agree with. And you're always going to have some people that don't agree with certain things, and then that was the case of this particular project. And some people will say good things about it, some people say bad things about it. But like I said, I think it was one of the most open, inclusive, impartial processes I've ever been involved with, and I support the decision that the county and the city made, and I look really forward to moving on in the future. And this this project has repercussions not only to this area but throughout the country. And I know that doesn't bring solace to a lot of people that that live in this area, and that's okay. But this is an amazing opportunity that we have to showcase the amazing natural resources we have in this area, but not only the amazing natural resources, the amazing people we have in this area to actively participate in a project like this that was unique to them, it was different, and to move forward in something that it's change. But in the long run, you know, one of the things that I really like about this project is because I really think, I seriously believe that the decision that was made by the county and the city wasn't made on one issue only. You know, they didn't consider just economics, or they didn't consider just environment, or they didn't consider just social issues or just engineering issues. They took all of those issues together and they looked at all of them and said, we're not going to make our decision on just one issue. We're going to make our decision with by looking at all these issues combined, and then we're going to move forward. And I'm very excited to work with this community and to enhancing and restoring kind of the natural river that's underneath those impoundments as we move forward. And I'm just really excited about this project and looking forward to working with the community in the future.
Are those marsh marigolds over there?
Over here?
Those yellow flowers. Those are pretty.
Yeah. So there's more rapids down this way, huh?
It goes a little bit further.
Okay. I think we would survive if we took the canoe down here.
Well, that would be that'd be fun.
We'd have. I don't know if we tip the canoe over here or not. A friend of yours in the kayak, he must have had a good time down here, you know?
Yeah, that was scary.
I can see the excitement that the people have for doing it.
Yeah, so if they take the dams out, this is going to be even more forceful down here.
Well, I think this will be about the same, but the vertical drop at the Brown Bridge is a lot greater than the other dams. So the water's going to move a lot faster through that area by Brown Bridge. You know, so this, I don't know how many situations like this there would be though. Kind of cool though.
Well, you know, this looks challenging enough. I mean, I don't know why you need it. You know, whitewater kayaking is pretty dangerous.
Well,
Most people get killed doing that.
Maybe we don't need it, but there's a certain segment of the population that, you know, the closer to death they come, the more exciting it is, you know. Yeah,
well, I guess that'll be a new topic for the community. Another death by foolish...
Charles Darwin was right. Survival of the fittest, right? But this, you see, this is going to add oxygen. All of this stuff where the water goes up in the air, and it, you know, it adds oxygen to the water. God, I don't think I want to go through here. Unless I had somebody that really knew canoes, I could take the front. and paddle if somebody that knew how to steer was in the back, you know. But yeah, this gets crazy because if you tip the canoe over, then we had a lawyer down in Cadillac was killed on the Manistee because he tipped over the canoe and the canoe was on top of him.
Yeah.
And he couldn't get out. That was quite a few years ago.
Yeah, how do you even maneuver this?
Well, you just hang on, stay low, so it doesn't tip over.
You gotta go head first into it?
Yeah, you actually have, I think you're supposed to paddle faster. Like, if people that get in trouble try to slow down, and then they just kind of prolong the agony.
So you go straight through and
Go
paddle
straight
fast?
through, paddle fast, bang, go up in the air, come down, and you're through it, you know. But the people that try to go slow, I think they're the ones that get in trouble. They get hung up and they tip over, you know. Hey, you want to go down some more?
Sure. I don't know if you can go up that way.
I don't think so.
No.
I think that's
They
erosion.
built eelgrass pool. I like it.
Huh?
Eelgrass. I like it.
Oh, that's called eelgrass, huh?
Eelgrass. I'll go up this way.
Yeah. Oh, these shoes aren't made for this. Well, I don't think we can get into whether one life form is superior to another, or whether pike are better than brook trout, or whatever. That's a losing. We don't have enough tape. But the economics, it sounds like you have money for dam removal, but no money for dam retention. Is that a fair characterization?
Well, I think there are significantly more sources out there for dam removal than there are for dam retention. Yeah.
And when you put that in front of the public in terms of, you know, what's going to come out of the taxpayer's pocket, the cards were kind of stacked against dam retention from an economic point of view. Is that fair?
From an economic standpoint, yeah. I mean, it would be much harder to find money to retain the dam than it would be to remove the area. So you're going to enhance the wildlife populations, and that's what we found through the engineering and feasibility study.
The one question I have is canoes, and I remember a guy who was complaining about
We're getting close.
kids in canoes drinking and coming down, and well, there's no outhouses along the banks, and he was well, he owned property and was offended by a few canoefuls of kids to the point where he tipped over one of the canoes. He just lost it, I think. But it is an issue, crowd control, and if you're going to create a situation where canoeists and people from outside are going to come, how are they going to be controlled? And I think there's quotas on the Pine River, and there's an obvious conflict between fishermen and canoeists, and I'm wondering if you have experience in that area.
Oh yeah, and that's a great comment, because like you mentioned the Pine River, there's a variety of rivers where there's a lot of use, and there's mixed use. So there's a lot of fishermen, there's a lot of canoeists and kayakers, and sometimes those uses don't meld real cohesively. But there's always mechanisms to provide for appropriate recreational opportunities for everybody, and make sure there's mechanisms to assure that there's not significant kind of clashes among those particular groups. And there's mechanisms, no mechanism is going to be perfect, But I think the Boardman River offers a unique opportunity because, once again, it's a state designated natural river. So in terms of kind of protecting the resource, in terms of not allowing too much development and overpopulation of the river of various activities, the natural rivers provides a good foundation for reviewing those types of activities.
So is East Bay Township going to have to pay a sheriff's deputy to be down there enforcing the law, or is the state of Michigan going to be responsible for it?
Well, I mean, I'm not sure exactly what the regulatory mechanisms will be in the future, because I'm not sure what's going to happen in the future in terms of increased, the canoeists and kayakers and things like that. But the Department of Natural Resources and Environment, we have one conservation officer for Grand Traverse County. So, like I said, there's always I don't think, in my opinion, concerns over enhanced recreational use of an area should be a reason to not potentially go forward. And I'm saying that from somewhat of a biased point of view, working for the Department of Natural Resources and Environment. I represent thousands of anglers and folks that use the resource, and from my point of view, I want to see people get out there and use the natural resources that we have. I want to see them use it, but I want to see them use it sustainably. So we can't have issues where folks are going out there and significantly degrading the natural environment. But from my point of view, the more people that we can get out there to sustainably use a resource, the better. And there's always mechanisms to control it and to make sure that it's sustainable use.
Isn't that a hoot? I wonder what these guys think about taking that dam out. Uh-oh.
Want to try? Huh? Yeah, here I want to try it. No.
Hi there. Can I put you on public access TV? It's okay?
Yeah.
All righty. You like these rapids, huh?
What?
You like these rapids, right?
Yeah, keep going rapid.
Look at that guy. Can I put you on public access TV?
Sure.
Okay, cool.
Run away! All right, grow. You yell really loud, we can hear.
Isn't it a little bit crazier upstream?
We already were there.
Okay, is it safe? Could we take it in a canoe? Is it safe to take it in a canoe?
Yeah. Just go down left and center.
Left.
Make the turn.
Okay. What do you think of this Brown Bridge Dam thing and taking that out?
Louder. I don't like it. They should keep the power.
Keep the power?
Keep the hydroelectric power.
Oh, I gotcha.
No need fossil fuel. No biomass. Yeah.
You don't like biomass?
No. Hydroelectro.
Okay. I think I gotcha.